don't. You either think that we're more important and smarter and more virtuous than the American people, or you don't. And I think we ought to be treated the same. Now, having said that, I said I agreed with what Senator Paul said. I'm just worried his name on the bill is going to get knocked out of the park. So I'm going to put it in my name. Let's do what, it's not Senator Paul's bill, it's Senator Ron Johnson's bill. And what Ron John's, we call him Ron John, I'm sorry, Senator Ron Johnson from the wonderful state of Wisconsin. What Senator Johnson has proposed, and I voted for repeatedly, says, look, if you're deemed an essential employee right now, you're working, but you're not being paid. Senator Johnson's bill says, we're going to pay you. I voted for that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to 45th Perspective. If you're new here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our updates. And if you really want to support independent, patriotic commentary like this, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/45th Perspective for as low as $5 a month. Your support helps us keep producing high-quality content and delivering our unfiltered perspective on the issues that really matter to Americans.
It also says if you're furloughed, if you're deemed to be non-essential, then you're not working, but you will get paid once we come out of this shutdown. Does that make sense? That's what Senator Ron Johnson has proposed. And as I told my good friend Senator Paul, I agree with him. Senator Paul's name is on that bill. It's going to be vetoed 6 ways to Sunday. I'm going to try to put my name on the bill. Maybe it'll get passed, maybe it won't, but I think I have a better chance than Senator Paul. That's just my personal opinion. It's not meant to be personal. So, for that reason, Mr. President, I'll try the third way. It's not my preferred way, but we got to get out of this mess. I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 191 S302, which, as I've indicated, Mr. President, I think we've got a chance to pass the House with it, and I really don't think President Trump will veto it if I explain to him it's Senator Ron Johnson's bill. And I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there an objection?
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reserving the right to object, let me just say this. We should make sure that every federal worker gets the paycheck that they are owed. And the right way to do that is for Republicans to finally join us and get serious about passing a bipartisan CR so we do reopen the government and prevent health care costs from exploding. Instead, the bill that the senator from Louisiana is asking for unanimous consent for actually lets Donald Trump and Russ Vought decide who they want to pay during a shutdown, and that will allow them to stiff everyone else. President Trump has said he will only pay the people he wants to. He literally said, and I quote, "We're going to take care of our people. There are some people who really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way," unquote. This bill would actually let Trump do exactly that. Mr. President, we should make sure all of our workers get paid, not just the workers Trump likes. So the best way to do that is for, of course, Republicans to sit down with us as Democrats, work out a solution to reopen the government. If instead you do as the senator from Louisiana suggests here, then at a minimum, it should cover all employees. And that proposal is out on the table with Senator Van Hollen and Senator Peters. Thank you, Mr. President. For that reason, I object.
Objection is heard. Chair recognizes the senator from Louisiana.
Mr. President, look, I get it. You know, this is why we're in a shutdown. I just proposed a bill, was my third choice, but it's better than nothing, to say everybody gets paid. And my good friend from Washington State objected. I don't know what else to do. I voted 14 times to open up government. I can't change the election. President Trump was duly elected President of the United States. He was, in a free election. And the American people spoke. And some of my colleagues are upset about that. In fact, they hate the president so much, they've shut down government. They hate him so much that if President Trump came out in favor of breathing to live, they would hold their breath. It's not rational. And I just don't know what else to do. All I can tell my Democratic friends is, look, reasonable people disagree, and I get it. But you're just being too emotional. You need to go drink a big, old, cold, tall glass of get over it and realize that President Trump is the President of the United States. Don't shut government down because of it. Mr. President, you've been really patient. And even though the parliamentarian tried to get you to dodge my questions, you answered them straight up, and I really appreciate it. With that, I yield. No, I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Today, we're diving into a Senate hearing that's been making waves, and for good reason. The hearing revolves around a bill intended to ensure federal workers are paid during the ongoing government shutdown. Specifically, it addresses how essential employees who are working get their pay, and how furloughed employees, those deemed non-essential, would receive their pay once the government reopens. Now, this might sound straightforward, but as you'll see, the politics behind this bill reveal a lot about Washington dysfunction, partisan obstruction, and the reality of how federal employees are impacted during these shutdowns. Let's start by breaking down what happened. The senator from Louisiana is supporting a bill originally proposed by Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin. This bill is simple in principle. Essential employees should be paid for the work they do during a shutdown, and furloughed employees should be guaranteed their back pay once operations resume. These are hardworking Americans, people keeping airports running, hospitals functioning, and government services operational. They are not political pawns. They are the backbone of our nation's functioning. And yet, their pay becomes a political football every time Washington fails to act responsibly. The Louisiana senator is pragmatic in his approach. He openly acknowledges that this isn't his first choice. He even calls it his third choice. But he sees the urgency and necessity of getting it passed. This is what practical leadership looks like. You don't always get the perfect bill or the ideal circumstances, but you act within the political realities to deliver results for the people. He also notes that putting Senator Paul's name on the bill could sink it due to partisan opposition. By attaching his own name, he believes it has a better chance of passing. This is strategic thinking, not ego. It's about results. Contrast that with the Democratic objection. The senator from Washington argues that this bill would let the president decide which federal employees get paid. While this is technically true, it's also a bit disingenuous. First, the president is an elected official with the constitutional authority to manage executive functions. Second, the Louisiana senator is trying to make this as fair as possible under the circumstances. The objection seems more about political grandstanding than genuine concern for federal employees. It's a pattern we see often, using procedural objections as leverage in partisan battles, leaving ordinary Americans caught in the crossfire. Now, let's talk about the broader context of this shutdown. Government shutdowns are not just abstract political events. They have real-world consequences. Federal workers go unpaid. Contractors don't get paid. Essential services are disrupted. Families across America feel the financial and emotional strain. And what do some members of Congress do? They block practical solutions simply to score political points. That's what we see here, and it's deeply concerning. As a patriotic American, it's infuriating to watch politics get in the way of common sense and fairness. One of the key points the Louisiana senator makes is that President Trump was duly elected in a free and fair election. This is not up for debate. Yet, some members of Congress refuse to accept the results. They allow personal animosity toward the president to dictate policy, even to the point of shutting down the government. That's not governance. That's obstructionism. And it hurts everyday Americans more than anyone else. The Louisiana senators call for reason, urging colleagues to stop letting personal emotions drive public policy, is a message every American should hear. Democracy depends not just on elections, but on respect for the outcome of those elections. Personal feelings should never override duty to the people. Now, let's dig deeper into the bill itself. Senator Ron Johnson's legislation is simple, but effective. It guarantees that essential workers continue to receive paychecks during a shutdown and ensures that furloughed employees are compensated once the government reopens. There's nothing partisan about that. That's basic fairness. Americans expect their government to honor its obligations to workers. And in a shutdown, that's exactly what's at stake. This bill isn't about ideology. It's about accountability. The Louisiana senator's approach also highlights the importance of pragmatism. In a perfect world, we'd have a full bipartisan agreement to reopen the government immediately. That would be ideal. But we're not living in a perfect world. What we do have is an opportunity to act pragmatically, to take a measure that's achievable, and to ensure Americans don't go without pay. This is what leadership looks like, putting practicality over politics, results over ideology. And in the context of Washington, that's not just rare, it's revolutionary. Let's also talk about the tone and strategy of the Louisiana senator. He's firm but respectful. He acknowledges disagreement. He recognizes that his proposal isn't perfect. He communicates clearly that this is about solving a problem for real people. Compare that to the Democratic objection, which frames everything in terms of abstract fairness and power dynamics, rather than the immediate needs of federal employees. The contrast is stark. One side prioritizes Americans, the other prioritizes politics. That's a lesson for anyone who's frustrated with the state of our government. It's also worth highlighting how the Louisiana senator addresses the bigger picture. He points out that he has voted 14 times to reopen the government. That's right, he has tried repeatedly to find solutions. He acknowledges the election results. He emphasizes that some members of Congress are allowing personal dislike for the president to dictate their actions. And then he makes an appeal to reason. Stop being emotional, accept the democratic outcome, and put the country first. That's not just political strategy. That's patriotism. Now, let's examine the human impact of this. Federal employees are not just numbers, they're parents, spouses, and children. They rely on their paychecks to put food on the table, pay mortgages, and support families. Every day a shutdown continues, they experience real stress and financial uncertainty. The Louisiana senator's bill isn't just policy, it's a lifeline, and blocking it for political reasons is unconscionable. Any American who values fairness should recognize that ensuring people are paid during a shutdown is the moral and right thing to do. Another point we need to consider is the importance of respecting the role of the president. The objection raised in the hearing hinges on the president's discretion, but let's be honest. The president has constitutional authority over executive operations. The Louisiana senator isn't giving unchecked power to the president. He's working within the system to ensure fairness and accountability. The objection from the other side, however, frames this as dangerous or partisan, which is misleading. It's a classic example of partisan overreach being disguised as concern for principle. This hearing also provides an important lesson about political strategy. The Louisiana senator understands the realities of sponsorship and public perception. By attaching his own name to the bill, he believes it has a better chance of passing. That's not ego, that's leadership. That's understanding the dynamics of Washington and navigating them effectively to achieve tangible results. It's a lesson in how good governance requires both vision and strategy, especially in a highly partisan environment. As right-wing Americans, we should also appreciate the emphasis on personal responsibility and pragmatic problem-solving. The Louisiana senator isn't waiting for perfect conditions or unanimous support. He's acting with urgency, knowing that delay equals hardship for American workers. That's exactly the kind of leadership our country needs: action, not rhetoric. We need leaders willing to work within constraints and find solutions that protect everyday Americans. Let's also address the issue of partisan obstruction directly. This is a recurring problem in Washington. When one party prioritizes ideology or personal animosity over the well-being of citizens, it creates gridlock and frustration. We've seen it in multiple shutdowns, budget debates, and legislative stalemates. The Louisiana senator's frustration is palpable in the transcript, and it's justified. This isn't just about a single bill. It's about the broader dysfunction that prevents government from serving the people effectively. Another thing worth emphasizing is the Louisiana senator's appeal to reason. He tells his colleagues to calm down, be rational, and recognize that President Trump is the legitimately elected president. He urges them to stop letting personal feelings dictate government operations. This is a call for respect for democratic institutions and processes, a core principle that every American should support, regardless of political affiliation. We also see a clear contrast in priorities. The Louisiana senator is focused on outcomes, getting federal workers paid, ensuring government functions continue, and protecting families from unnecessary hardship. The Democratic objection, meanwhile, is focused on process and political leverage. It's about ideology, not impact. That contrast is critical for viewers to understand because it shows the difference between leadership that serves Americans and leadership that serves politics. The Louisiana senator's third-choice approach is also instructive. In politics, compromise is often necessary. Perfect solutions rarely pass, especially in a divided government. By proposing a solution that's achievable and meaningful, he demonstrates the kind of pragmatism that's sorely needed in Washington. Sometimes, the right thing to do isn't waiting for perfect conditions. It's acting decisively to prevent harm. And that's exactly what this bill represents. Now, let's talk about accountability. Federal workers deserve to be paid, and the government has an obligation to deliver on that promise. When politics gets in the way, accountability is compromised. By championing this bill, the Louisiana senator is holding Washington accountable to its citizens. That's not partisan, it's patriotic. And it's a reminder that good governance isn't about ideology. It's about fulfilling promises and protecting the people who depend on government operations. The Louisiana senator also emphasizes the role of emotion versus reason. He points out that some members of Congress are acting emotionally rather than rationally, letting personal dislike for the president drive policy decisions. This is a critical lesson for Americans watching this unfold. Emotion should never dictate governance. Policy decisions should be grounded in facts, fairness, and the public good. The senator's appeal to calm, rational decision-making is a powerful moment in this hearing. Finally, let's consider the broader lesson for patriots everywhere. Leadership requires pragmatism, courage, and a focus on outcomes. It requires prioritizing Americans over party politics. It requires navigating the complexities of Washington with strategy and integrity. And most importantly, it requires standing up for what's right, even when it's not politically convenient. That's exactly what the Louisiana senator is doing in this hearing, and it's a model that we should celebrate and demand more of in our elected officials. So, to sum up, this Senate hearing teaches us several crucial lessons. First, government shutdowns hurt ordinary Americans and should never be used as a political tool. Second, partisan obstruction can prevent practical solutions that protect workers and families. Third, pragmatic leadership, like that demonstrated by the Louisiana senator, is essential for ensuring Americans are treated fairly and government functions continue. Fourth, respect for democratic outcomes is non-negotiable. Personal animosity should never override duty to the country. And fifth, emotion must never replace reason in governance. This is the kind of leadership and common sense approach we need more of. It's also why channels like 45th Perspective are so important, to highlight moments where patriotism and practical problem-solving take precedence over partisan games. If you agree with what you've heard in this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this content. And if you want to support independent analysis like this, head over to patreon.com/45th Perspective. Your support ensures that patriotic voices continue to be heard, and that Americans get thoughtful, unfiltered analysis of the issues that matter most. Thank you all for watching. Remember, government works for the people, not the politicians. It's up to us to hold our leaders accountable, demand pragmatic solutions, and never forget that putting America first is a duty, not an option. Stay informed, stay patriotic, and keep fighting for the principles that make this country great. Until next time, I'll see you on 45th Perspective.